San Mateo, California, also known as St. Matthew in Spanish, is a city in the San Mateo County, California, on the San Francisco Peninsula, about 20 miles south of San Francisco. The city borders Burlingame to the north, Hillsborough to the west, San Francisco Bay and Foster City to the east, and Belmont to the south. At around the height of the coronavirus in the year 2020, 2 men had been arrested for the shooting death of a well-known San Mateo rapper known as Juice Boy and his 2-year-old son, who was seriously wounded. San Mateo police said that they had arrested 29-year-old John Posse, also known as Talia, and 30-year-old Isaleli Mahi as suspects in the shooting death of the South Bay rapper. Posse was arrested in Charlotte, North Carolina, and Mahi in Honolulu. The slaying happened the morning of October 30th, 2020 on Eleanor Drive. Police found Ueda Musaika Jr., also known by his stage name Juice Boy. He'd been shot several times, and his son had also been shot in the face. Musaiki was pronounced dead at the scene, and his 2-year-old son was taken to a trauma center and recovered from his injuries. KTVU had learned that Posse is the grandson of Susana Tonga, an 85-year-old woman who was killed in an arson fire. Just last week, Fifita Tao was sentenced to 40 years to life in prison for starting the fire. Investigators have said that Tao had just targeted gang members who had injured relatives who were in a rival gang. Tao mistakenly believed his targets lived at the home, but he ended up killing 85-year-old Susana Tonga. Authorities said the rapper's slang, the rapper Juice Boy slang, was in response to Susana Tonga's murder. Quote, "This attack was personal and targeted," San Mateo Police Ed Barberini said of Musaika's shooting death.
You're learning more about the arrest of 2 men accused of ambushing and killing a rapper in front of his home in San Mateo. Police say they also wounded his 2-year-old son. Our crime reporter Henry Lee is here now with the latest. Henry.
Julie, the shooting death of the rapper Juice Boy was one of 2 killings of rappers in San Mateo. The other case was unrelated, but this case has links to another shocking crime in the city. 29-year-old John Posse was arrested at his home in North Carolina on Monday. 30-year-old Isalehi Mahi was also arrested Monday in Honolulu. Both face murder charges in the shooting death of Ueta Mwasika Jr. in October of 2020. The victim was a rapper, also known as Juice Boy of Cutthroat Mode. San Mateo Police Chief Ed Barberini says the ambush killing was calculated and premeditated.
Shot execution style 14 times. He died at the scene while putting his 2-year-old son into his vehicle to take him to school. This attack was personal and targeted. We believe it to be related to the murder of Susan Tonga from a case in 2019 where she died in a fire that was deliberately set.
I've learned that Posse is in fact the grandson of Tonga, the woman who died in the fire. Just last week, Fifita Tao was sentenced to 40 years to life for murder for setting the fire. Tao was targeting gang members who had attacked his family members who were in a rival gang. He mistakenly believed his targets lived at the home and ended up killing Tonga. Investigators believe the shooting death of the rapper came in response to her death. Authorities plan to extradite both men to San Mateo County, where the DA has already charged them with murder, the special circumstance of lying in wait, and assault with a firearm. The boy who was shot has since recovered from his injuries. San Mateo police say they are hopeful that the arrests in the rapper's killing the boy's father will put an end to the cycle of violence. Live in the newsroom, Henry Lee, KTVU, Fox 2 News.
Henry, thank you. 2 men accused of ambushing and killing a man in front of his San Mateo home and wounding his 2-year-old son have been arrested. 29-year-old John Posse was arrested at his home in North Carolina. 30-year-old Isaleli Mahi was arrested in Honolulu. Both were wanted for the murder of Utah Savelio Muasika Jr. on Eleanor Drive in San Mateo back in 2020.
News this morning, a house fire turned deadly overnight in North Harris County.
Right now, we know that 1 person was trapped inside and died in the flames. Our Ugochi Iloka is live this morning with the very latest from the scene. Ugochi, what can you tell us?
Yeah, right now, the Harris County Fire Marshal's Office is investigating a deadly two-story house fire that they say took the life, sadly, of one elderly woman. We'll move out this way. You'll see several crews are here now, including Westfield Fire Department, trying to put out those hot spots, making sure they're contained. And this is video of the fire overnight as it engulfed this home. Arriving crews found heavy fire showing from the first floor of the house. It was reported there was one person trapped inside. The fire, we're told, spread to the second floor. Sadly, a woman did not escape the home and died inside. Now, investigators say there was another victim, a man who was taken to Bentob for smoke inhalation. Now, we're working actually to find out what caused the start of this fire, what caused it all together, as well as more information about the residents who were inside at the time. We're hearing that some children and other adults were in there, and the rest of them, again, escaped, but sadly, that woman did not make it. Back to you.
Ugochi Loca live on breaking news for us this morning. Thank you for that.
Killed an elderly woman in San Mateo. Now a murder investigation tonight, and police say their suspect is behind bars. Night Beat's Maria Medina explains how neighbors may have led police to their suspect.
The home here on Humboldt Street unlivable because of that fire. Investigators say they found what the arsonist used to light that fire on the front porch, and now they say they know who that person is.
And then I saw the fire in the house.
When his neighbor Susana Tonga's home caught fire in the early morning hours last Tuesday, Mardakio Perez had no idea it would turn into a murder investigation.
I should sometimes come here and get some lemons.
Susana was the only person who died in the fire. It took her 4 grandchildren several minutes to realize until firefighters their grandmother was still inside the home after they'd rushed out.
And so they went back into the burning house and found the 85-year-old grandmother, Susana Tonga, in there, unresponsive.
Magali Baldivia saw firefighters trying desperately to revive Susana.
She was pronounced dead on scene.
San Mateo police say they worked around the clock to find Susana's suspected killer, including taking Mardakio's home surveillance footage.
Surveillance footage of the vehicle fleeing the scene led detectives to a home in East Palo Alto.
3 days after the arson, police arrested Fefita Tao in East Palo Alto. They say the motivation, gang-related.
It was a targeted gang-related incident, and the person that was acting for his gang was acting independently, and he targeted the specific house.
The home targeted, but exactly who they were targeting unclear. Susana was 85 years old.
It's nice lady, she's good person.
And police say they are not releasing the names of the gangs involved, but they do say retaliation is very possible because of the death of Susana, so they are stepping up patrols in this neighborhood. On the Night Beat, I'm Maria Medina.
What's going on, you guys? Welcome back. Another episode of Green Lake Gang TV. Appreciate you guys checking out the channel. So we're going to get right into it here. This is one of my first times covering basically Samoan, Pacific Islander gangs. In this case, just right when I read it, I knew. Takes place kind of at the height of the coronavirus. So you got 2 guys that get arrested for the murder of an up-and-coming, Bay Area rapper, Juice Boy. And I looked up some of his music. Not gonna lie, I didn't do a ton of it, but I looked up enough to know he was getting a little buzz in the city. He was starting to become popular. And, it was a big deal. And then when you read what happened with the 85-year-old grandmother in the house fire and how her life was taken and this fire wasn't an accident, and it all ties back to these 2 gangs and just this back and forth. And just like a lot of these stories we cover, it's just eye for an eye sort of way of doing things. So 2 guys get arrested for the death of Juice Boy. 29-year-old John Passy, better known as Talia. And again, if I'm saying these names wrong, guys, I'm sorry. Again, please comment down below, correct me. My first time covering these gangs, it seems like the deeper I go into California, the more I'm learning. And this is definitely the case here. So 29-year-old John Passy, also known as Talia, and 30-year-old Isaleli Mahi as suspects in the shooting death of Juice Boy. Passy was arrested in Charlotte, North Carolina, and Mahi in Honolulu. They split time between those residences and the Bay Area, is what the authorities said. So the murder happened on the morning of October 30th, 2020 on Eleanor Drive. Police found Ueda Musaika Jr., also known as Juice Boy. He'd been shot several times. He was pronounced dead at the scene. And they went after him right right in his home with his own child there. And his child was also a victim of this attack, unfortunately. Basically, what they come to find out is John Pasai, one of the perpetrators of this crime, was the grandson of the woman in the house fire, Susana Tonga, whose life was taken as also a revenge killing. And it just never stops, guys. It just never seems to stop in any way, shape, or form. Her life was taken by Fafita Tau. He was sentenced to 40 years to life for the crime. He set fire to the San Mateo home because he thought it was the residence of rival West Side Tonga gang members. Fafita Tau blamed the gang for violence against his family members who represent the East Side Shore View Crips. So these are the two kind of warring in this story. West Side Tonga gang members and the East Side Shore View Crips. And Tau set the fire because he believed the gang members lived there. It ends up being the house of 85-year-old Susana Tonga. And I put those two news stories side by side to give you an idea, because the one news story, it just says elderly woman passes away. And then the very next news story is, this is more than just an accidental fire. This was a deliberate attack. Firefighters responded right away. So they were from Station 24 in San Mateo, California. They responded within 60 seconds. And first responders were able to rescue 6 people. But unfortunately, elderly woman Susana Tonga, she's not able to make it out, and she passes away. So again, Poseid said, okay, well, you took my grandma's life. I'm going back out to get you. And he ends up killing an up-and-coming rapper, Juice Boy, who's just with his child and going about his day. And I just kind of want you guys to think about that, how crazy that is. You're just there, you're living your life, you're getting ready to go to work, doing whatever your routine is, and suddenly shots are getting let off. It said they shot him like 14 times or something crazy like that. So, it never ceases to amaze me. The reason I did this story is because I shouldn't say so many, but there's just a couple layers to it where, I see local rapper killed. And then I see, local rapper killed in retaliation to a murder that had happened of an 85-year-old elderly woman, and whose grandson was the shooter of this rapper. And it just shows you this back and forth that, unfortunately, I don't think is going to stop anytime soon. Pasai and Mahi, Pasai's in North Carolina, Mahi's in Honolulu. They get extradited to San Mateo. It takes a couple months. And here's the crazy part that ended up coming out. It said, and again, I had to reread this. It says, Ueda Juice Boy Musaika and John Talia Pasai had known each other for 15 years. So there was a deep, deep connection there. And 15 years, that's no joke. At those ages, that's half your life, somebody. So in a way, you grew up together. It just was, they ended up getting charged to get extra time for the lying in wait and all that, because they were basically staked up outside of his house when they got him. It took an 18-month investigation to finally lead enough evidence for them to be able to go out and get these guys. Obviously they're going after life without parole and all that. And Fafita Tau, he ended up pleading out to the arson. He got 40 years to life. Basically, at that point, when you're just pleading out like that, you're just hoping for an opportunity to get out someday. So, crazy story. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Until next time, peace.